All right, good morning and thank you for joining our webinar today. This is Patrick Milligan with CAD1. I am joined by Isaac Rush of Autodesk and Denny Cox, Technical Support Specialist here at CAD1. She told me to say princess, but we stuck with specialist on that one. So today we're going to talk about Autodesk's migration to subscription. It is a discussion that we've been having a lot lately, and there's a lot of questions around this, so we thought it'd be a good time to have a webinar. I'm sure that you guys have been receiving emails regarding this, and the purpose of this webinar is to bring some clarity to what this migration path looks like. So I think it's fair to say there was a significant amount of confusion surrounding this when Autodesk first made the announcement, but fortunately over the course of the past several weeks we've been able to get some really good answers to some really good questions. And speaking of questions, feel free to submit your typed questions at any point during this presentation. Just know that we'll be answering those questions at the end of the webinar. So Denny, will you please show our guests how to pull up the webinar interface and how to ask a question?
Sure.
Oh, you did? Great.
Yeah. On your screen you should see your GoToWebinar panel, and then on the panel there is a chat section, and you just type in your questions there and we will see them, and we will acknowledge the questions as they come in, but like Patrick said, we'll just address them all at the end. I think that'll work the best.
So let's go ahead and take a better look at what we're doing here. All right. So what I'm going to do here is start with a general overview, and then we can get dialed in more on the finite details here in a bit. Much like what you've seen with other companies in the software industry, Autodesk is looking to move to one model, and that is a term-based license model. A term-based license is going to be one that is not necessarily owned by the user. This is going to be more akin to a lease. So this change is going to look very similar to other large software firms that have done the same thing recently, companies such as Adobe and Microsoft. The switch to term-based licenses really has become an industry trend, and we are seeing fewer and fewer perpetual licenses available out in the market, regardless of software type or company. At this point, a large percentage of the Autodesk customers are currently perpetual license owners that are on maintenance. Now, the term maintenance is noteworthy here because there's been significant confusion with some of the verbiage changes. A few years ago, maintenance was referred to as subscription. That terminology has since changed to maintenance. So if you purchased a perpetual license and you have been paying an annual renewal to give you the rights to the most current version of the software, then you are technically on maintenance. The reason that this is important is because the term-based model that Autodesk will be encouraging you to migrate to is also called subscription. So we just want to clarify that and get that out of the way, because in conversations that I've had with clients, they said, hey, I thought I already was on subscription. Now you're actually on maintenance. So, all right. Next slide, Dan. So how is Autodesk going to encourage you guys to migrate to subscription? Well, they're going to give you the opportunity to move to a term-based license at the same cost as your current perpetual maintenance rate, and by locking in that pricing for 3 years. You'll have the ability to migrate from an individual product into a subscription of that same product or the industry collection. And this is important because this is going to be a great way to get a very low cost. We'll circle back on this a little bit later, but I want to make a note of that. You can also go from a design and creation suite into a subscription for an industry collection, and then you can do the perpetual maintenance on an LT suite into a subscription for an LT suite subscription. So those are the migration paths that are available. So some of you may be asking at this point, what is the industry collection? Well, the collection has replaced the design suites. The AEC collection is a combination of both infrastructure design suite and the building design suite. And then we've got a few extra programs thrown in there as well. So let's take a look at what all is included here. We've got your old familiar favorites like AutoCAD, Revit, Civil 3D, and then you're going to have some stuff like Navisworks, which is kind of the gem of this package. That
Yeah.
wouldn't have been included in either of the design suites previously.
Well, it's Navisworks Managed, so
Right.
the design suites had Navisworks Simulate, so you get the big swinger of the Navisworks packages with
Right.
this.
So you're also going to get some cloud services that are going to be available through this. InfraWorks, Recap. Recap's going to offer a great workflow through reality capture workflows and processes. You're going to have access to Format and of course some cloud storage. But important to note here, again, for those of you that are looking at potentially migrating an individual product into the collection, the SRP for the collection is $26.90. Now, you'll be able to migrate into the collection at a cost of $10.75. So that's a huge savings to upgrade if you're looking to go from AutoCAD to Revit, or if you're just looking to get into collections. So now that we've got an idea of what is migrating into what, let's take a look at what the pricing is going to be. So basically, when you switch to subscription for an individual product, you're going to pay the same price as you would for maintenance on that same product. If you switch to an industry collection, your price is going to be the same as a maintenance renewal for a design and creation suite. If you switch to subscription for an LT suite, and then your price is going to be the same as it would be for the maintenance renewal for an LT suite. Again, all of those prices would be locked in for 3 years. So, next slide, Denny. So I prepared a sample cost analysis in which we were assuming an asset portfolio of 10 seats of Building Design Suite Premium currently on maintenance. The Building Design Suite's migration path is to go into the AEC Industry Collection. The maintenance renewal cost for 2016 in this scenario would have been $10,250, as you see on the upper left-hand side there. So Autodesk has announced increased costs on maintenance of 5% this year, 10% next year, and 20% in 2019. Because the cost of migration is the same as the cost of the current year's maintenance rate, those firms that choose to migrate to subscription sooner will always pay less than those that wait to migrate later. And as I mentioned previously, that rate will be locked in for 3 years. So we've made some cost assumptions here for 2020 and 2021, just to give us an idea what we're looking at. But Isaac, if you could speak a little bit to that, what the plans are for that year 4 and 5 down the road.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. So what we'll see come year 4 is we estimate an increase of about 15%. Again, this is still going to be well below the SRP price. So from 1075, you're only going to be increasing about 15%, give or take a couple percent in year 4. And we anticipate the same level of increase, or if not the same rate in 2021, which would be year 5. So the big advantage again in switching is that you're locking in that very low rate at nearly 60% below SRP. So you'll be well below for years and years to come. So we, again, don't have exact pricing come year 4, but so many people have been asking. So we got some direction from our executive team, and it's going to be in the ballpark of about 15%. And then normal inflation or normal increases in maintenance each additional year after that. So nothing substantial though. So
thanks, Isaac. So important to note here, as you guys are taking a look at this analysis, don't hesitate to call us at CAD1 to customize one specific to your firm so that we can look at exactly what this migration path looks like for you. So in terms of securing the pricing for 3 years, a lot of folks have been asking, so hey, do I have to pay for all 3 years up front? And the answer is no. You can do that, and some companies budget that way, and that's fine. You can go ahead and pay for 3 years all up front if you'd like, but it's not mandatory. You can just lock in that single year rate on a year-by-year basis and just be looking at that renewal date. You'll have that annual cost. So All right, so that being said, we want to talk a little bit about the benefits of subscription, the benefits of the subscription model. And I'm going to turn it to Isaac Rush here for that.
Great, thanks a lot. Yeah, so there's going to be a few major benefits to migrating to the subscription. As you can see on the slide here, we'll have greater access, better control, and insights, all by migrating to the subscription model. So I'll drill in a little bit. Go to the next slide. So with access being one of the big features, you'll have the latest and greatest product capabilities.
Oopsie, sorry.
Hey, technical support
Divert
specialist.
back here, but I can continue ultimately. So with the greater access, you'll get real-time updates as they become available on the product. So with subscription, customers get access to Autodesk's ongoing stream of innovation, updates to core products, cloud services for desktop products, and additional capabilities, again, as soon as they become available at no additional cost. You'll also see access to this new industry collection. Primarily for us, it's going to be around AEC, but there are other collections around product design and media and entertainment collection. And this is only going to be available through the subscription model. So you'll be able to take advantage of ultimately a lot more product for less. And then you'll have new and improved support. So along with the support that you receive from CAD 1, you'll also have the ability to schedule a call directly with Autodesk, which is pretty cool. There's been certainly a lot of frustration about getting access to Autodesk technical support. But again, first line of defense is to route through CAD 1, and then if there's something you have specific you want to reach out to Autodesk for, you can schedule that call. Again, this is all going to be for subscription-only customers. Next slide here. And then, so with access, you're going to have better control. So you'll have a simplified administration. Customers can access tools that streamline the deployment and the software management when they standardize all their Autodesk products on subscription. You'll have easier user management, which will be key, as you'll have access to a lot more real-time updates. Customers select how to best manage their users, from open access for all users to having control at the user and product level. The choice is really up to you. And then product updates. So as Autodesk rolls out updates, customers can control when and how their users get access to the new technology. So it's on your own time. And then with insights, cloud service usage reporting. So with the pay-as-you-go connected cloud services, customers can keep track of how users are spending cloud credits to access those services and optimize for what they actually need. And then budget planning. Predictable and transparent subscription costs provide customers convenience of charging subscription costs annually to projects. So ultimately a different way of looking at how you're expensing those costs for subscription. That should be it.
All right.
There.
Thanks, Isaac.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick.
All right, so I've been fielding a lot of questions from customers over the past several weeks about what the switch to subscription will look like from a license administration perspective. And with that in mind, I decided that Denny Cox needed to be a part of this because she is our guru on this. Oh wait, I'm not supposed to say guru. Princess, that's right. So I'll let Denny take over from here.
Thanks, Patrick. And thanks for the princess shout out. I like it better than queen because queen implies I'm old.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so basically we're moving from the perpetual to a term-based license. And there are two different types of term-based licenses. You can get a single user, which is what we've seen or called a standalone, and we have a multi-user, which is what we are used to being a network license. When you are making the change from a perpetual license to a term-based license, it is a new contract, and so you will be getting a new serial number. This is going to potentially affect the standalone licenses. The multi-user or network licenses is not going to be a big deal because just the way that the license management is done. So the single user licenses, the license it's a user assigned license. So currently when we get a license, we say it's for a user, but it's more that it's tied to a computer. So any user can technically go sit down at that computer and use that license. And we do have the ability to have concurrent installs. So you have one on a static machine, which would be your workplace, and then one that's on a more mobile, like your laptop, or at a home use or a work at your home office. So with this user assigned, the computer is not the sticking point. The user actually will have to have an authenticated Autodesk account, and then those credentials that that account is created with, they sign in to wherever they're going to be using the software, and then that is how the use comes. Now, in order for that user to have that special use, they have to be assigned the use of that software. And that assignment is going to be done by the contract manager or the software coordinator in the contract's Autodesk account. It's really very easy to do. We're going to quickly go through slides with steps showing you. It's, in my opinion, it's not 100% intuitive until you go through it once, and then you'll go, oh, yeah, that was easy. Just another thing Patrick had brought up is with this term-based licensing, everybody imagines that everything is now cloud-based. And we just want to iterate that the software is actually still loaded and running on the local workstation, and it's only the license that's stored in the cloud. And on the standalone licenses, the user is going to be required to log in every 30 days. So you won't have to open up AutoCAD and log in. You don't have to maintain that internet access, but about every 30 days, the Autodesk program is going to go out and check the cloud and make sure that that license is still valid. And if it's valid, then life goes on. I haven't actually experienced this, so I can't tell you exactly what it looks like, but it's potential, if the timing works right, that you're actually connected to the internet during that time, that it happens seamlessly behind the scenes. You'll never see it happen. But a likelihood is if you are working without an internet connection, the next time you go to check, it's going to come up with a screen, and you're going to get the options of putting in the serial number and product key, and or a choice that says log in as a different user. Simply choose the option to log in as a different user, put in your Autodesk account credentials, and then off you go for another 30 days. Now, the multi-user license or the network license, this is just like the old perpetual network license. This license is intended to be shared by multiple users. One reason that you would get a network license is you don't have everybody on staff does not need that license full time. So the multi-user license will satisfy that borrowed or shared time on that. In the network license realm, the network license manager controls that user access. So basically, when the software is installed, you choose to install it as a network license, and at that point in time, you're establishing the need for the heartbeat. The heartbeat is basically the workstation talking to the server. It begins with the workstation saying, hey, do you have a license? And the server says, yes, here you go. That's what we call checking out a license. And then about every 15 minutes or so while you're connected, then the heartbeat happens. The workstation, the server, are you there? Yeah, I'm here, and life goes on. The one thing about the multi-user license is you must maintain access to the server, or your AutoCAD will not, or excuse me, your Autodesk product will not run. Now, there is the option to borrow a license, which is different than checking out. You can borrow a license. You would want to do that if you have that inconsistent network server access. So if you're out on site somewhere, you borrow the license, and what it does is it removes it removes one license out of the network pool and makes it a temporary standalone on the workstation. This borrow period can be set to whatever works. So if you know you're leaving for a week, you could borrow the license for a week. You could borrow it daily. There is a 6-month borrow period. That's the longest that you can go. You cannot, however, if you say borrow the license for 6 months and somewhere along the way you drop your laptop in the ocean, there is not a way to reclaim that checked borrowed out license from the network license manager. So you want to be careful how long you're borrowing it, or stay away from oceans, because we don't have a way to reclaim that license, so then it has to wait for that timeout period before it goes back into the pool. Okay? One other thing that's a beautiful thing about the network or the multi-user license is because of the way that the licenses are managed, it doesn't matter what you currently have installed on your system. When we do an install, we have to put in, previously we put in the serial number and the product key, and that determines what kind of license it is. the product key basically. So I can install AutoCAD, and if I put in the AutoCAD product key, it's going to look for an AutoCAD license. If I put in the Building Design Suite product key, it's going to look for the Building Design Suite. Because of the network licensing and cascading, it doesn't care how it was installed. The cascading is going to take care of any of that problem. We will have some instances of Building Design Suite Premium version 2016 and older that we'll have to probably do a reinstall because there's not a way to change the product key, just a way to change the serial number. That is not super tough, but that's something, feel free to call us anytime. We'll be able to help you out with that one. Next, the user management. So the single user license has to be assigned. Not should be, has to be. If a user does not have an Autodesk account with authenticated credentials, meaning that the account was created and they've actually gone in and set up a password and signed in with that password, then they won't have access to that software. And the way you could tell you have access is once those credentials have been authenticated and you're logged into your Autodesk account, as the user, you will see that product on your product list. It's really simple. You don't see it, you can't use it. You see it, go nuts, okay? The assignment of the assets can only be done by the contract manager or the software coordinator. And that is something that we at CAD1 can help you assign the appropriate person to either of those positions for all of the assets on that particular contract. All right, basically to log in, this is how I do it. I go to autodesk.com/account. It switches you to where you need to be, and you're going to be prompted for your login name and your password, as you can kind of see the two of those screen captures here. Now, once you are logged into your account, to be able to assign the user, what you're going to want to do is choose the little heads from the list. So the software or the contract manager, software coordinator are the only two that will see this list of icons on the left. The general user will only see the top two icons. So if you are the contract manager or you think you're supposed to be contract manager or software coordinator and you don't see the heads, you're not in the position that you think you are. And give us a call and we can help work that out. So basically, you pick on the heads and that brings you up to the user management. Each user has to have an account. As you can see, we have a bunch of users. You can put in any user that will need to download software or have access to product updates. But if you want this to be more controlled, that the IT takes care of all of that, then you really only need to include users that need to be assigned software. And you do that by picking the Add button, which is a little blue plus just to the left of the right window. Wait, which one is the L? So pick the Add User. It's going to pop up. Is this the right slide? This doesn't look like the right slide. Anyway, let's look at this one. Nope. You're going to do Add User. It looks like I just didn't do a screen capture. When you pick the Add User, it's going to pop up a window. You can either add one user at a time. You could do a bulk add. Basically what you need is first name, last name, email address. You do that for the number of users you need. You pick Save, and those users are created. Once you've done that, I personally don't, when I'm adding users, you have the option of assigning them the software user after user after user. If you have one or two, it's not a big deal. But if you're migrating like 30 seats, you might want to just assign them all at once. So this is what this next slide is showing. Basically, you would check all the users. Once they're added, you check all the users with their little checkbox on the left. You go to the Edit Access pull down or the Actions pull down, and then you choose the Edit Access. You have the ability to do this user by user by just selecting the Edit Access button that's all the way to the right of the particular user's name. So once we've got all the users selected that we want to grant access to the software, you simply go, it's going to bring up this screen because you've got more than one. You go to the Actions pull down and you just choose Assign all three, whatever that says, all three users. So whatever the application is, you can assign. So with these particular group of users, if you have more than one thing to assign, which you will, if you have the AEC collection, you can assign them to use the Civil 3D or the collection or whatever you happen to have here. One thing to note is that when a contract is created, the contract manager by default is automatically assigned any asset a standalone seat. So you will first have to go and unassign that seat from the contract manager if they are not a user to be able to have access to all the seats. So you can see what's highlighted on the screen. I have 3 seats of AutoCAD available. If I actually was supposed to have 4 and I'm only seeing 3, that means 1 seat is already assigned to somebody, and generally that's going to be the contract manager. All right, so some basic general information. This is the one that I was just saying, that all new subscription contracts will have a single user asset will have a seat assigned to the contract manager. With multi-user licenses, well, here's one thing with this is new with the AEC collection, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm not 100% sure it's all subscription assets. We'll have to stand by to see. But one of the downfalls of using a network license was opening multiple versions of the same product. So you're working on a Revit 2013 project and a Revit 2014 project, kind of back and forth. If you opened both of those products out of the building design suite, you actually consume 2 of your network licenses out of your pool of licenses. With the AEC collection license, that doesn't happen. You can open multiple versions of the same asset and it will not affect that. You'll just still be using 1 license out of the pool. We had talked about borrowing licenses. Right now, there's a little hitch in the licensing, so you can open multiple versions and consume a single license. But if you were to borrow, even if you borrow multiple products out of the same version, you're consuming multiple licenses. That is a known problem, and Autodesk is working on that to get that. So basically, if you open Revit and AutoCAD and you wanted to borrow both licenses, so you're going to take your laptop away, then you're going to consume 2 licenses out of the AEC pool. So that one's a little bit of a problem right now, but like I said, they're working on it, so not a big deal. Another thing is in the AEC collection, when you make that transition to that, the license agreement states that you're only allowed to open 2 products concurrently. So AutoCAD and Revit, or Navis and Revit, or 3ds Max and AutoCAD. So just be aware that might be something you haven't probably read the user agreement for years and years. I know I haven't. But this would be something, when you pick OK, realize that you are saying OK to this. Currently, there's nothing technically in place that's going to keep you from opening 3 applications at once, but just realize that that license agreement does say that. Let's see. The beauty of the standalone license is that user can use it from anywhere. On a laptop, as obviously a lot of people are going to laptop, makes it easy, but you can have a license or have it installed on a computer at home, have it installed on your computer. Let's say you go and you're visiting your mom and dad in North Carolina. You can install AutoCAD on their computer and you can use it while you're there. Now that same thing is not available. You can if you can borrow the license from the network pool, but there's also another tool, not necessarily for North Carolina, but for a laptop, a mobile device, or a home computer. If the company is solely working with network licenses, then there is a tool, a home use license is available. And what that is the same number of seats of software, a standalone license is generated, and then that standalone license will be assigned to people who can then log in and use it when they're away from work. And then that doesn't affect the license pool, the network pool. Oops. Time out. Come back. I think my screen was quiet too long. Tab. All right. All All right, so now we are ready. As Patrick had said earlier, if you are looking to know exactly what it's going to cost your company and not just the general, let's grab this number out of the pot, then call your account rep at CAD1 and they'll be happy to do a customized analysis, cost analysis for you. Autodesk has written quite a few different FAQs on the transition going from, or the change, going from perpetual maintenance plans to the term-based subscription. And if you would like to read that so that you're not actually listening to our interpretation, let us know and we could put you in touch with those. And your contact information for for CAD1 is info@cad-1.com or our phone number, 303-427-2231.
So at this point, we'd like to take an opportunity to field any questions that any of you folks may have. I'm not seeing that we have any questions yet. Denny, am I accurate in saying
You are accurate. There are none yet.
We must be incredibly thorough with our presentation here.
Look at your, yeah, because you're looking at all questions from the audience. So start asking. We would love to believe that we certainly answered any question that you might have without you even having to ask. And also know that as time goes by and you start thinking about this, you're welcome to give us a call and ask your question then. But it's always nice to ask it here because it gets other people's juices flowing and then they start thinking of things they can ask because of the question you asked. Ready, go.
Oh, now we got them. All right, technical.
Oh, questions, not chat. Okay. So you want to start reading those, Patrick?
All right. Will I have to uninstall the 2018 license that I've already installed? Great question. Answer is no. You will not, correct?
You will not. That is correct. In the help, where you've always gone into help and about, there is a managed license is your option now. And one of it's little and it's blue, but it says change license. You just go in there and then you change the license type. Comes up and says, you really want to do this? You say, yes, I do. It closes you out of your application. And the next time you start your application, it's going to come up and prompt you for the serial number and product key. And if it's a different license type, then you can change it there.
Great. All right, so we've got a question here. I would like to, okay, so we've got a customer that has 20 seats that 12 are standalone and 8 are network. Is there a cost to have all 20 seats be networked? Isaac.
So, yeah, great question. We get this a lot. So right now, for the ones that are on standalone, at the time of renewal, you can only migrate to the exact same access type. So standalone, if it was a building design suite, would migrate to a standalone AEC collection, and then any building design suites already on network would then migrate to an AEC collection multi-user or network environment. So we do anticipate at some point in the future there will be opportunities to upgrade or switch from standalone to network, but at least right now at your renewal date, the access type has to remain the same.
Great, thank you, Isaac. All right, next question is, from what I've seen of InfraWorks, I think it could help with preliminary designs and win more business. Could I move my Civil 3D maintenance to an AEC collection so I can have access to InfraWorks? The answer to that is yes, absolutely. That's part of that great value of migrating a single product into the collection. I had mentioned in my example of going from AutoCAD into Revit, but it's very similar there as well.
Yeah, so I think one of the really big advantages, like Patrick was mentioning, so if you have anything Revit, AutoCAD, Civil 3D, to move it to an AEC collection, you would receive it for $1,075. It's an extremely reduced rate. So as you look at your pool of seats, if you have some standalone where you're like, hey, I'd really love to be able to leverage InfraWorks or another version of AutoCAD or Formit or 3ds Max or anything that's in the AEC collection, this would be a great time to upgrade because you're upgrading for a substantially lower cost compared to in the future. If you're like, hey, we need a new AEC collection, you'll be paying the full SRP. So leverage those individual seats to upgrade those to AEC collections. We have a lot of customers that are just standardizing on the AEC collection because they're growing. and we'll be able to use them very soon anyway.
Great. Okay, next question is, will a subscription automatically upgrade to the next version or release? The answer there is no, I believe. You will be able to stay on that version that you're comfortable with or that you're working on a project in. With the subscription model, you will have access to the current version and 3 versions prior. So the answer is yes there.
Yep.
What if you wanted to add or remove the total number of licenses? Well, this is a good question too. And this is kind of where the beauty of the subscription model really has an effect, because when we move to subscription, you're going to have more flexibility in the events, knock on wood, of a downturn. We're going to be able to adjust down, and you're not going to be handcuffed to maintenance on perpetual licenses that you're not using. So that is a real benefit. That in the other direction, when you add licenses, those will be at the SRP of, depending on what the product is, that will be not necessarily at a migration cost. That'll be at the new product SRP at that point.
Yeah, and another comment on that. So if you have 30 seats that are eligible to migrate, keep in mind you will have ultimately one chance to migrate them. So if you decide to migrate 25 and drop 5, you can certainly do that, but then just keep in mind those 5 that you drop, if at some point you grow in the next year or two, if you want to re-add 5, you'll be paying full price. So there is an advantage to keeping that base pool that are on this perpetual maintenance, because you're going to be switching at that reduced rate. So just keep in mind, we do have customers that are consolidating, if that makes the most sense, but I would certainly encourage you to look ahead to future growth, because those are going to be your guideline pool of assets to migrate for a much cheaper cost. So if possible, it makes sense to keep them. I would encourage you to do that.
Okay, we're getting a lot of questions about whether we're recording this. The answer is yes, it will be made available. We've had no major technical difficulties. No, we didn't have to push the dump button for anybody cursing or anything. So yes, we'll make this available to you guys, and I'm pretty sure we'll probably put it on our website.
I think that's typically where it goes, yeah.
So we'll let you guys know on that. We've got somebody asking, other than a potential cost savings, I really do not grasp the benefits. Please talk to a non-techie. That's a great question. Isaac, I'll let you feel that one.
Yep. So again, some of the benefits are ultimately going to be, because this AEC collection is our kind of repackaging of the design suites, you get a lot more product. So you're going to have access to the flagship products like Revit, all the different AutoCAD versions, a lot of our cloud tools. We're basically combining everything that was in a Building Design Suite Ultimate, which was the premium package on the building side, and then everything on an Infrastructure Design Suite Ultimate. We just bundled that all into one. So that's going to be the big value. You get a lot more access to product. But then another benefit is you just download what you need. So if you really just want Revit and AutoCAD, you can certainly download that. The other one is that as Autodesk releases new updates to the product, you get them as they become available. You don't have to wait a full year. As the product is progressing, you'll receive those updates right away. And then the other main value is you get access to Autodesk technical support. So you can schedule a call if you have questions directly with Autodesk. Again, I'd certainly encourage you to work with CAD 1 first, but if you have something you want to talk to Autodesk about, you can schedule a call. So those are some of the big benefits.
And if we want to have a layperson's conversation, absolutely feel free to call your account representative. We can talk about it, non-techie talk.
Yep.
So next question is, and I'm going to let Denny field this one, can you assign different users to different individual products within the collection per license?
No, and I realized that my statement earlier was incorrect. So the AEC collection is a single seat assignment. So one person, one seat of AEC collections. That individual can use multiple products out of that collection, but I realized I had misspoke.
There's still a single user.
Single user, single license.
Got it. Thank you. All right. Question is, I have a single user license. I keep AutoCAD on my main computer and my laptop. I keep both CAD running and sometimes keep them both opened at the same time. Will that be possible with the subscription?
I believe the answer is yes. If you're on standalone,
Yeah.
you can have that running
I
on
think you went
any
through that.
computer.
Right, but simultaneously.
Oh, yeah.
So technically, yes, but by license agreement, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, okay. That'd be a good question to follow up on. Yeah, I'm not sure
either. I know that technically you can have it open on 3 concurrent without having to sign out of one to get into the other. But again, we'll have to look a little closer at the license agreement. I would imagine that too, possibly, but we'll have to look at the terminology to just make sure.
Yeah, I know a big change is that it's attached to the user. So if one user is signed into AutoCAD on one computer at the same time as that same user signed in on another computer, the way that it could be seen is that somebody other than that user would be using it.
Correct.
So we might run into that, but we'll follow up.
All right, so I think we're getting down to the last questions here. What if I'm using a 2014 and I switch? Well, I think that'd be a good move.
Yeah, you'll have access to latest and greatest. I don't know if you want to talk
Yeah,
or maybe know where this
I don't know
question
if you're
is
saying maybe they're not on maintenance and they're using a 2014.
Well, if they're using 2014, their maintenance allows them to continue to use 2014. That's actually a question that is in contention right now because it's legitimate. There is no on the standalone licenses or single user licenses. It's only the 3 versions back, so that eliminates the 2014, and that has become a point that is being looked at because there are Revit being the big one. You can't save back. So if you're working with someone on Revit, you need to be able to. Right now, it's going to have to be a instance by instance basis, and we'll have to go get permission basically from Autodesk or whatever they decide they're going to do.
Yeah, that's definitely a lean on CAD 1 situation.
Yes.
Let's help you with that.
Just so that you know, though, that the network licenses, the way that the network license is generated, it actually supports from 14 through 18. So if you have a network license, you're no problems. But if you have a standalone license, we'll have to deal with that on an instance by instance basis.
Okay, I think that we've got through all the questions. Again, as questions develop here over the next months and weeks, and you guys just want to give us a call, we're here. We're available to answer those questions. Again, our number here is 303-427-2231. I think I'd like to thank Isaac and Denny for joining us for this, and I guess we're going to call it good.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.